Business Breakfast. My name is Vice, and today I have the esteemed honor of introducing Vice Mayor Mary Estime-Irvin. So yes, let's give her a round of applause. So she is the very reason we are here today. Ever since her time in office, Vice Mayor has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to serving our community. She has centered her efforts around three core pillars: transportation, transparency, and technology. Her dedication extends to bridging the gap between the government and business owners, fostering an environment for collaborating for our mutual benefit. She's working tirelessly to address the issues that matter to us most. So please put your hands together one more time and join me in welcoming North Miami Vice Mayor Mary Estime-Irvin.
Here again this year. I want to thank you, Akira Myers, for those beautiful words. She is the constituent coordinator for District 3. And isn't she doing a lovely job? Give her a hand. Ladies and gentlemen, elected official, esteemed guests, and our dedicated North Miami business community. As your Vice Mayor of the City of North Miami, it gives me great pleasure to stand before you today on behalf of the Mayor and Council. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to the 5th Business Breakfast. Transparency, public participation, and awareness of various services and functions that the city government provides. So what makes this breakfast special is that it offers an opportunity for North Miami residents, particularly business owners, to engage with one another and to gain insight on many facets that drives our city. During our discussion, our panelists will illuminate important topics such as transportation and technology. They will also discuss some significant projects we've launched in the city of North Miami, which includes Freebie and our NOMI Tech program. In December this year, NOMI Tech will be launching its second Lightship Foundation Bootcamp. John Loftus, is he here today? Yes. Where is John? Could you stand up, please? He is our Economic Development Strategic Initiative Director, and he can provide you more detail on this. But before I go any further, I'm going to take a privilege, of course, to recognize the people that stand and that make me look good here. So I would like to acknowledge our city manager, Rasha Kamo, our esteemed executive director of the CRA, the Community Development Agency, Annabelle Emmanuel. She's the reason why we have this beautiful event today, or both of them are. And we have, if you are a director in the city of North Miami, could you just stand up and be recognized, because I'm not sure who's all here. Thank you so much for all the service. City of North Miami. Furthermore, we are committed to creating the conditions of the CRA. You're in for a great treat. Next, you will hear from our executive director, Ms. Annabelle. But before I bring out Mrs. Annabelle, I'd like to also recognize our elected city clerk in the city of Miami. We have an elected clerk, and it's Vanessa Joseph. If you can stand up and be recognized. Right. So please take advantage of the panelists, take advantage of all of the information. Oh, I see that we have. Please take advantage of the nuggets that you're going to learn, and let's get ready to just take it all in and to serve our North Miami community in a better way. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the 5th Annual Business Breakfast, hosted by none other than our wonderful Vice Mayor. We have several grant opportunities, and we also have other information. Please stop by, pick up a card, make an appointment, then we'll be able to continue the right direction.
Initiative. My name is Sam Smith, and I currently serve as economic deals at negotiator. $1 billion and is only achievable through an approach which is people-centered, leverages assets to add distinct value, and encourages strategic capital flow organization, the Beacon Council, invest in the community. Miller champions Miami's unique advantages as a diverse global inclusive growth for Miami's revenue. Mr. served as Chief Executive Officer, providing perspective solutions for workforce development, capital access, project finance, and foreign direct investment and trade, plus more. Mr. Miller holds a Master of Public Policy from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government and a Bachelor of Science degree in International Business from St. Augustine's College. As a Fulbright Fellow, he also earned a graduate diploma in finance from the Monterrey Institute of Technology in Mexico. A scholar practitioner, he has been a featured speaker to organizations such as Google, AIG, and the World Bank, and has lectured at Harvard University, Arizona State University, and the University of Michigan, also including the Georgia Institute of Technology and the University of Michigan, also including the Georgia Institute of Technology. Miller has received numerous accolades and awards and advised various federal agencies on economic policy, including the Federal Reserve Board, the Economic Development Agency Administration, and the White House. He is presently a board member of the New Growth Innovation Network, the Harvard Kennedy School Alumni Board, and the New Board, Miami Lighthouse for the Blind, and St. Augustine's University. Fluent in Spanish and Portuguese, Miller enjoys playing the piano, reading, and spending time with his family. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Roger T. Miller to the stage.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. I'm so excited to be here in North Miami. I want to thank Vice Mayor Estime-Irvin. See, with the, saying on the way to a meeting, but we got a chance to talk and really talk about a lot of dynamism and things that are happening here in North Miami. And those of you that I haven't met, I'm looking forward to meeting you. So I'm going to be before you for about 10-12 minutes, but we're going to try and make this as interesting as possible. I know we're talking about technology and transportation, so I'll get into that a little bit, but just by a show of hands before, okay, more than half, maybe 80, 70, 80%. That's great. How many of you have actually worked with the Beacon Council on a project this way? Only a few. But we're going to change that. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about the Beacon Council, what we're doing, but also how we can work together. I'm the relatively new CEO. I've been here about 7-8 months now. So still getting acclimated. So if I start talking, you say, he don't know what he's talking about. Please just take it as a new guy. But let's dialogue about it. So the Beacon Council, we're the organization charged with that God quality of life. When you look at on the base of it, what that looks like is what we're known for is we bring companies to the market. And that's helping them with incentives, that's helping them figure out workforce questions, connecting them to real estate, et cetera. And we generally tend to measure our performance, in terms of jobs and capital investment. So, so we market Miami-Dade as a world-class business destination. So how do we bring companies here from outside of the economy to be better tomorrow than it is today? That actually takes intentionality. So impact, since 1987 when we got started, we brought more than 120,000 new jobs to Miami-Dade. $7.5 billion in capital investment and over 1,300 new companies. So when you look at it and you say, if your metrics are jobs, like you're bringing more jobs and you're bringing more capital investment, if that's the performance, wow, this is great. That means we're doing a great job and the economy is healthy. But and when you think about, we're really the hegemon that drives the economic performance of this region. So when we look at the state of Florida, there's a lot happening, and Florida's growing. But Miami is really the economic engine, with over $155 billion in gross domestic product and 2.6 million people as a population base. So when you think about it, and when you think about we're really a region, so when you think about the region of South Florida, 6.1 million people and $387 billion in gross product. That's real performance for an economy. So much stronger than many countries in terms of the size of the economy. So does that mean we're healthy? Does that mean we're strong? What do you think? Does that mean we're a strong economy? We're a big economy, but I would argue that we've got work to do to be strong, right? And so one of the things, we focus on this thing of growth over time. How do we ensure that we have job growth? How do we ensure that there are lots of jobs all throughout the place? And so you're a big economy, but you know, I'm a big guy. Am I healthy? Depends on the need, right? And so from an economy being strong, we say we want the economy to be three things. We want it to be inclusive. Diversity is a part of it, but that's not really what this is about. Inclusion is that everybody that's working age, ideally, should be working or an entrepreneur. Every person that's not working or actually driving economic growth represents a loss to the economy. And so we got to figure out how do we ensure that whether somebody lives in North Miami, in Doral, in Miami Gardens, in Hialeah, that they have access to jobs. Whether they're black, white, purple, man, woman, veteran, disabled, that how do we actually ensure those on-ramps so that we've got an inclusive economy? How do we ensure that the economy is sustainable? So we've had years of runaway growth, and then we've had years where we haven't had lots of growth. You want that sustainable, that moderate growth out into the future, because that moderate growth is going to ensure that, you know, there's a level of predictability for business leaders. So when business leaders make a decision, the incentives, you know what the incentives are, that means there's access to labor. So how do we ensure that economy is sustainable? And that sustainability is not only in terms of the economic function, but the bigger question of sustainability of we are a market, and from an environmental perspective, if we don't address climate action, we won't be here. And then lastly, competitive. A competitive economy, competitiveness, we think of it as a mix of factors that determine the attractiveness of a market as a place to invest. So what makes a place you want to live? What makes it a place that you want to do business? And ultimately, we want, on the basis, we want it just to be a better place to do business. And so thinking about competitiveness, you want to build an economy from the stuff that's strong. That's where you want to start. So at the bottom of that, the foundation of that is the assets that you have. Here we've got great assets. And when you think about assets, this is stuff you can't do anything about. I'm like, you know, I'm 6'6". What are our assets? We're diverse. Our assets are we've got a great port, we've got a great airport, we've got great academic institutions, we've got smart people from all over the world that want to innovate and believe in the American dream. So how do we build from those assets? And then the layer above that, you've got macroeconomic policy at the federal level. We can lobby, we can do things, we really can't impact much of that. And then at the top level is really where local government and where organizations like the Beacon Council play, which is microeconomic policy. How do we actually ensure that, you know, that there's clarity around where to go for support, what those kinds of supports are, what the investments are that are going to be made over time. So that's how we think about building an economy that's competitive. And when we think about how do you make an economy competitive, there are 5 levers we think about. So one of those levers include 24 jobs in that sector. We've got financial services. We've got the second most important international finance center on the East Coast after New York, because of all of Florida actually has the second strongest aviation sector in the United States. And in South Florida, we're actually top for aviation training. And so those are sectors, and life sciences and healthcare. We've got to focus on those. Now, we hear a lot of talk about player, and I would argue that most of the tech opportunities are going to be tied to those sectors that we're already strong in, innovations in those sectors. Human capital. The most important thing is it's all about talent, people. And we've got smart, innovative people. That's what we sell. Innovation and entrepreneurship. What's our startup, stay-up, and scale-up capacity? Are we able to start up companies here? And we're tops in the country for the last few years in terms of startup activity. But when we look at scaling up and staying up, we're not where we need to be in. So we've got a big opportunity there. In this context, it's more so about the ability to execute transactions. So what do the different pieces that work together to figure out how to get transactions done? How do we focus on these things so that permitting actually works? So that there's actually clarity around incentives and capital. And then spatial efficiency, the relationship between where people work, where people play, and the things they need just to survive. And that's one of the areas where I think we've got a big opportunity to be better in our economy. Now, there's some things that we're doing good. We've got the pieces for the ecosystem that works. We've got higher ed and tech commercialization to our universities. We've got a lot of startups, and we've got a lot of incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces, and we're increasingly having investors. Now, I would argue that we've got the pieces of an ecosystem. It isn't quite functioning as an ecosystem yet, but that's okay. We're a young market. Now, that said, we've got some challenges. Affordability is increasingly a challenge. It's very difficult to find affordable housing. And if you want to find affordable housing next to where jobs are, that almost doesn't exist. So much so that despite all the tremendous growth that we experienced through the pandemic, historically, it's been Latin America's pain and the Caribbean's pain has been our economic. The pandemic was like the rest of the country discovered Miami and they started moving here. That's also not a strategy. We've got to be much more intentional, much more focused. But with our increasing home prices, we can no longer compete against second-tier markets. We've got to compete against the first-tier markets. And affordability is a challenge. Transportation is a challenge. And what we're seeing is that we're losing population for one of the first times in recent history as a result of it. So, living in Miami-Dade, what we're experiencing, renters grew an average of 30% over the last 5 years. I actually think it's much higher than that, but that's what the numbers say. Downtown Miami has grown 68%. So we've got real challenges. And so what do we do? How do we actually move beyond this to something that works? It's back to what we talked about originally. That's this idea of it's got to be sustainable, like you got to be able to do it over time. And it's not that there's no magic bullet, and I should probably start with this. The solutions that work are going to be cross-functional. The private sector should be leading the conversation around economic growth because ideally we want the long growth to come from private. So the private sector, people always see this as public, and the public always sees it as private, and that's probably the way it should be. So we got to build a sustainable, inclusive, competitive economy. Okay. I know we wanted to talk about transportation solutions and technology, so I'll spend a couple minutes on that and then I'll be out of your way. So from a transportation solutions perspective, we've got to have more employment population centers. The jobs are primarily not where the people are. It's primarily not where the affordable housing is. We've got to figure out how do we identify more places where we can create employment hubs around the county. So that's going to be a big solution to our employment. Number two, there's not one group that's got a magic bullet. We're all going to have to work on this. Technological advances and innovation are essential to maintaining quality of life. So, we are talking with eVTOL companies, which are basically these human-sized hoverboard, helicopters that will be able to take off from the airport and come to North Miami, or take off from the airport and come to downtown. They're going to be water taxis. They're going to be, the DTPW has this Metro Connect, which is a last mile ride solution. We're going to see all of those things as part of our answer. Changes in resident behavior is also needed. That will require increased information and awareness around solutions, environmental realities, and the importance of that behavioral change. Yes, we're going to have to act differently. Everybody can't drive a car to where they want to go all the time. It's just not going to work. Have you ever noticed the more lanes they build, the more lanes get built and the worse traffic gets? It's not an answer. It's just not. And social challenge. This is a social challenge, but it really represents an economic opportunity. So as business leaders, I encourage you all to think about what sort of solutions you can bring to the fore in order to be able to actually confront these things. And I would top performers on a national level, both of them have billions and billions and billions of dollars in capital improvements that are happening over the next 5 to 7 years, which represent contract opportunities. They're also leading the conversation around the transition to a carbon neutral economy, which our goal is to get to by 2050. So we're looking at contracting opportunities there. I did reach out to the head of DTPW to find out where we were in terms of transit, and what he shared was, the North Corridor line is a priority. There's not a firm date on when that's going to be completed, but in the next 12 months, they should have the environmentals completed on that, and then they're planning to go out to bid after combination of county, Florida Department of Transportation funding, as well as hopefully some federal funds. And then the other one that might be of interest is the Northeast Corridor, which actually will come all the way up to this campus. That's supposed to be done by 27, 28. So we're seeing an impact that should represent opportunities for many of our businesses. Beacon Council, I'll close with this. We are the economic development organization for Miami-Dade County. And when I think about accessible, and that we're working in partnership, not just with the county, but with our municipalities. That is our commitment, to work closely with municipalities, to work closely with local groups and chambers, whether it's the Miami Chamber, or whether it's the Haitian American Chamber, or whether it's other groups. Events. We've got a research department that's always putting out information, but if you have data sets, that would be helpful. As an entrepreneur, innovator, and advocate, we encourage you to engage on these topics that are critical to our future. Also with companies that are here. So if you know of companies that are looking to expand or grow, and that they need support to figure out how to do that, that's what we're here for. So feel free to reach out to me directly, or my colleague who's with me, Julio Pipi. So everybody, that's Julio. Feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you so much for that information. I'm sure a lot of you took notes. So please hook up with Roger. All right. So this morning I have the distinguished for years, and lately we've really been bumping into each other. He's going to be the person to moderate our panel this morning, no other than Eric Knowles, Chamber. Eric served in several capacities within Miami-Dade's Dolphin, the Hard Rock Stadium organization for 15 years. Eric has served on several nonprofit boards in South Florida, currently board member and past chairman of the Beacon Council, board member of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, board member of the Business Assistant Center, a member of the 100 Black Men who's writing, golf, landscaping, and acting, and I actually saw one of the commercials. A certified yoga instructor. Eric served at the U.S. Army 82 Airborne Division. So let's welcome our Secretary of
Thank the councilwoman, the commissioner for that wonderful introduction. I was looking at that picture, I realized I had on the same suit. But I'm 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, dipped in caramel. In the city of North Miami, a city that is growing. It's amazing what's happening in our community. As Rod said, actually Rod and I had the pleasure of having dinner together last week, and just talking about cities, 34 municipalities, and one thing I spoke to the commissioner, Vice Mayor Estime-Irvin, and to our community. One of the things, and I spoke to our mayor of Miami-Dade County, of how do we really bring our community together. 34 municipalities, a county, calling you about this, we have our symposium in the spring of every year. And what I would like to do is bring all the municipalities together, along with the county. You talk about the economy, you talk about job opportunities, job fair, but also how do you do business with all of these entities as well. So without further ado, let's get this thing moving. Introduce my panelists. I have their bios here. Give me one moment. Paulson is a seasoned investor, startup advocate, a tech evangelist. She began her career as a $3 billion AUM fund at Vantage Capital, investing in growing CPG brands, AI, and health tech companies, including Rainful and Recursion Pharmaceuticals. She is the first hire and principal founders where she leads the investment team. Her recent deals include Febby Secrets, Healthy Roots, Hot Hijab, Care, Food Up, and Viral. And I can go on and on and on, but we want to keep this moving. Eileen Bouclet. Ms. Bouclet is the Executive Director for the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization, TPO. Since joining the agency in 2016, she has been leading the charge along with the Miami-Dade TPO Governing Board planning process, and more specifically, the Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit SMART Plan. SMART Plan is a bold infrastructure program of projects that aims to significantly improve transportation mobility in Miami-Dade County and the Southeast Florida region. Claudia Miro, help me out. Miro. For the past 25 years, Claudia Miro has navigated various levels of the public sector in Tallahassee, served as Chief of Staff to former City of Miami Commissioner, and as a part of the executive team to the former Florida Attorney General. Ms. Miro has strong communications background, having served as a spokesperson for 4 government entities. Kevin, Information Technology Executive, accomplished in business development, customer engagement, application development, global delivery, and client success. Industry specialties include retail sales, marketing, financial services, Salesforce.com, data warehousing, talent enablement, workforce development, and consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelists. How's everybody doing?
Well,
let's go down the line and you can say a couple things about yourself, because I kind of just a couple things, and we'll start.
Well, certainly, thank you, and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Eileen Bouclet. I'm the Executive Director of the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization. We are an independent agency that is federally mandated. Based on our population formula. We are the largest metropolitan planning organization in the state of Florida based on population and also our volume of work needs. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about transportation this morning. Thank you.
Okay, that was a little more than a couple. Kevin?
I'll make sure I follow you.
Yes.
So I'm 6 feet, and I wish I was 180 pounds. So maybe I'll catch you one day. So Kevin Burge, founder of Be Civilized Solutions. I think you did a good job of introducing what I did.
Thank you.
All right.
Claudia.
Thank you. Claudia Miro, here in the state of Florida. We are the largest provider of electric on-demand door-to-door service, and we're happy to be here to speak about transportation and the intersection with technology.
Alexis.
All right. I'm Alexis Alston. I lead investments and partnerships at Lightship, and we're excited to create the next generation of millionaires and billionaires who look.
Technology. This is to Alexis. What is the biggest impact do you believe technology will have on us within the next 5 years?
Over the next 5 years, technology will be everyone's choice. I think there's a lot of fear mongering as we talk about the future of AI and ChatGPT, but the reality is it's going to create tools for us to have more choices on how we spend our time, how we make our money, how we choose to allocate resources.
You know, this whole AI thing, I think it just like snuck up on us. Chat GPT. Is everybody familiar? No. Hands who are not familiar. Don't be ashamed. Some of you are not holding up your hands, you should be, because you probably heard about it but don't know what it's about. So anyway, thank you. Kevin, can you share any success stories or examples of how your organization...
Great question. I primarily have been supporting organizations in the capacity of workforce development. Startups, medium-sized companies, enterprise companies, consulting firms, creating talent for those organizations to be able to deliver their solutions and business value. Over the course of the last couple of years, as I've led Salesforce practices before, created talent for these companies, over hundreds of work in the space. What I'm super excited about in terms of North Miami and Novi Tech is the opportunity to really provide some support for startups that are really, really looking to grow their businesses through, and what I would like to offer is really largely around partnerships with multinational technology companies. For example, Cisco Systems is a large organization that's primarily dealing with the network security and cybersecurity space. At Cisco, they are very, very dedicated to helping individuals, and also individuals particularly in the African American community. They actually have an organization as part of Cisco called the African American Cisco Partner Community. What they're looking to do is to provide support for startups, to help startups that are really looking to get into the network and cybersecurity space. And I think that's very, very important because as these new organizations further, so Cisco is looking to do things like that, even marrying some of these new companies with some of the larger Cisco partners to provide that support and mentorship. And I want to be part of that solution to help organizations here in this area to connect with multinational.
Okay, we're going to stick in the tech world. We're going to bounce back and forth to transportation in a moment, but how do you support, this is for Alexis, how do you support diversity and inclusion in the technology industry, particularly in terms of attracting and retaining underrepresented groups?
So for us, everything that we do fits under one of three buckets, all designed for entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurially curious who may look like us. So everything is either about North Miami that provides education called the Flagship Boot Camp to emerging founders across the community. We teach you all the secrets that maybe our Stanford peers learn at their dinner tables. We talk about all of those things to level the playing field for diverse founders who are looking to grow, scale, and sell their businesses. Secondly, we talk a lot about corporate connection and partnership too, just as you do. So how do we connect you with Fortune 500 companies for either business opportunities as customers or clients, or even as acquisition targets down the road? And then thirdly, the other thing we do is all about capital and community. So how do either I write you a check to give you some rocket fuel to grow in a world where, as you all know, diverse founders receive less than 5% of all venture capital? How do I level the playing field in my ability to write you checks, to give you that edge, to allow you to hire the you need to hire, to get the IP you need, be the next Steve Jobs or whoever you aspire to be? So we do really those three things, and we think that those three pieces.
Next question, can you share any partnerships or collaborations that you have engaged in to drive business attraction, job creation, entrepreneurship in the technology sector?
So locally, we're really pleased to be able to have a partnership with the city of North Miami for a lot of our education work and community building that we're doing in the region. Nationally, we're blessed to be able to have relationships with folks like Procter & Gamble, Kroger, a lot of airports. They're looking for them as potential customers or acquisition targets. We actually have 2 acquisitions in the works right now, crossing our fingers, with 2 pretty notable Fortune 500.
Wow, that's pretty notable. So we're gonna jump over to transportation. Eileen, what are the most significant challenges facing the transportation industry today, and what would you say is being done to address them?
It's an excellent question. So I'd like to just engage the audience for a minute and ask if who here rode transit or took some hand if you came on transit. Okay. If you were a single occupant vehicle, a driver in your own car to get here this morning, could you raise your hand? Okay, so I think this really is the core issue. What is our biggest challenge? We really have a lack of options in Miami-Dade County, a lack of mobility options in Miami-Dade County. Many times the only choice you have is being a single occupant vehicle. And I think we all know that all of us in our congestion. So how do we solve that? What we are doing is, our mission is to expand mobility options in any and all forms, from whether it be a highway roadway solution, a transit solution, a first last mile solution, or a technology solution, so that you can have choices and not always have to be a single occupant vehicle.
You know, again, Rod and I were actually him just moving here. We're not Atlanta, we're not Houston or LA. We do have a challenge, but we're not there. But we do have a lot of work to do if we're really going to become a world-class city. We have to get the transportation piece right. Can you share? This is Riley. Claudia. How do you see emerging technologies such as autonomous vehicles and electric transportation transforming the future of transportation? Before you answer that, anybody ready to get one of those flying cars and let's go?
Autonomous vehicles, they're already transforming the transportation sector, right? And to piggyback a little bit of what Eileen said, right, and that problem of getting people out of their cars and getting them into public transit, by providing these options, these electric options like the freebie, you know, folks are really, they're saying, yeah, I can get out of my car and get into a luxury Tesla that's going to take me everywhere, and I can be on my phone and send some emails. So it's really transforming the way that people live, and it's also huge in accessibility. So helping people move around there, maybe because they don't own a car in underserved communities. So providing that level of accessibility is huge. And you know, like seniors, for example, seniors, some of them have to wait for Saturday and Sunday so that their grown-up kids can take them to the grocery store. How many of you have that situation where you have to, your parents depend on you, right? So with these electric vehicles and services like Freebie, they're on demand, door to door. You can feel safe in sending mom or dad or grandma and grandpa in these cars, and now they're moving around. Now they're having a social life. They're going to the doctor by themselves. They're going to get their groceries by themselves. Their medicine by themselves, or having lunch with a colleague or a neighbor. The other thing is that it's also changing the way that the planning works, right? So before you build a building and you're not thinking about electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. So now when you have someone thinking about putting up a high rise or anything, they're thinking they have to now consider, hey, what's the future of transportation? We have to make rideshare companies, you know, companies like Freebie can come pick up and drop off, and that these areas are sheltered, right? Because who's gonna stand out in the sun and the rain? So when you have this thoughtful process in your building, in your planning, it's not an afterthought. And you can gather under the shade, can gather free from the rain. And these are things that we're thinking about now in the planning. So all of this is because of these wonderful advancements that we have in technology. And the same thing with the autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles are coming. There's a lot of programs that are being piloted right now to kind of work out those kinks. But it's definitely moving in the right direction, and we're already seeing the impact, not just in people's lives, but also it helps take cars off the road, like Eileen was saying. Now you can get, that's what we're looking for, and we're really focusing on changing that behavior and making the experience so that more people say, oh, you know what, this was not a bad experience, I'm going to do that. You know, how many people have you struggled to use rideshare when it first came out? Right? And now it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it right away. So that's the direction that we're moving. And like you said, we really need to change those behaviors so that we can become a first class.
So going back to something you said, again, a lot of this technology, not necessarily. Talk about that just a little bit, because I heard you said something about, you know, jumping in a Tesla. And
yes.
I wouldn't mind a Tesla picking me up and taking me.
So if you're familiar with rideshare, where you download an app and you hit a button to drive, you pay for it, it takes you from the front. As people have changed the way they move, we are providing this as an offering, but through public transit, so as a form of public transit. So with Freebie, you also download an app, request a ride, it comes to your front door, it takes you to the front door of where you're going within a geofence. Because it's microtransit. We're not going to take you from here to the airport or really far away. You know, it's microtransit. It's there to enhance what currently exists. We enhance mass transit. We are that first mile. I'm saying, right? More options like, if I didn't have to walk 2 or 3 blocks to get to a bus stop, a trolley stop, I would probably take more public transit. And that's what Freebie does. They pick you up and they take you. If you're going to be going a little bit further than that just immediate zone, connect you to that trolley, connect you to that bus to get you along further. And you can really see that this is what is using a smartphone, like some of our seniors, You can call it. If you see one on the street, you can flag it down, and it's a free ride. It's free to the user, and it's funded by municipalities. It's funded through state grants. It's funded through so many different partnerships. CRAs are funding, and be able to serve the community in this way and get them mobile.
Okay. Learned something new for real. Eileen, can you share a specific project or innovation that you have been involved in that has had a positive impact on transportation efficiency and sustainability?
So I think I would refer to the Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan. The acronym is SMART Plan. Was anyone familiar or heard about the SMART Plan? Commissioners, plus the 8 largest cities, plus the school board, expressway authority, and the small city came together and unanimously adopted in 2016 that we would advance transit and transit supportive projects in Miami-Dade County called the SMART Plan. And some of the very critical points that were made earlier by Rod regarding accessibility and making sure that access to transit and transit supportive services were located near affordable housing, working fiber service were the priority of the board. And I would like to point out that as a result of the SMART Plan, the board initiated the SMART Demonstration Program, in which we're very proud to have worked with North Miami in bringing your request to the board and bringing Freebie together with the city to launch a first last mile connection for the city to get to and from the transit stations. We have launched over 36 of these projects countywide. These are new services that didn't exist before that allow people an option that's not just their vehicle. So we're introducing options where there weren't any before, and we're very proud to work with the city on this as an example of something that's impactful in my view.
Wonderful. Kevin, what role can government policy and support play in encouraging business attraction, job creation, and entrepreneurship in the technology sector?
Thank you. You're already doing it. I mean, this is an example of you raise your hand and you say, we're doing something special in North Miami. Innovation is happening here. Okay? This is a tech hub, and you promote that. You let everyone know what you're doing. You let businesses know that we're welcoming you to come here and to do business in our community. So that's the first thing. So you're already doing it, so great job. I think the second thing is, looking at the overall ecosystem, being like a quarterback for that community. So you have your companies that are already in place. You have companies that you want to attract. You have your learning institutions like FIU, Miami-Dade College. You have the brain stations, places where they're enabling the learning. Then you have your citizens. So really being that environment, create that ecosystem, ensure that for those companies that are here, that they're saying, we're here, but we want you to hire people locally. Well, what is it that you need as a company? Okay, well, we need these type of skills. Great, let me connect you with FIU. Let me connect you with the different learning institutions so that they can create curriculums, create the learning, making the citizens aware of the opportunities within the community where they can learn and they can be part of it. So really being that quarterback, and then also, raising your hand and saying, hey, listen, we're doing some great things here, promoting that. That's what I think.
Okay. Alexis, what are the biggest challenges you currently face in your work, and how are you addressing those?
The biggest challenge in my world, which some of you may be aware of, is unfortunately some of the emerging lawsuits against diversity, inclusion-focused funding programs around the United States. So we're in a very interesting time in our political climate where the work that we do to make sure that everyone is on this is being challenged, unfortunately, by some private groups. So for us, that's what's really difficult. The best way to combat that is to make sure that you are consistently, when you can, supporting your organizations focused on capital, community connection for diverse founders. So whether that being your office writing a check as an LP, or your office providing in-kind support, locations, access to other corporations in the area, continuing to uplift and support the organizations that are doing this work is really impactful because it is an incredibly challenging time nationally, unfortunately.
Thank you. Claudia, cyber threats.
Safety solution and security is very important. I think that it's a multifaceted approach that we have to take, and really the first thing we have to do is like a risk assessment, right? What are our vulnerabilities, right? Data protection. It's very important because when you look at companies like Freebie or other rideshare companies, you're creating a profile, you're giving your information. Freebie is free, so we don't deal with like credit cards or bank information, but other rideshare companies do. You're putting in your bank. The reason you get to ask for that ride is because you're connecting it to your bank account, to your credit card, and so that's information that needs to be protected. That's information that needs to be protected, and I think that as long as we are doing our due diligence, and it's not something that is one time, it's ongoing. Collaborate with partners, with banks, with top security companies to make sure that we're doing everything that we can in a collaborative manner and an ongoing manner to make sure that your safety and your security is protected. That's from that standpoint. But when you talk about the future, right, autonomous vehicles, right? Autonomous vehicles, can somebody hack into an autonomous vehicle, right? So those are real concerns that we have to make sure that, and it's also going to lead to, you know, when you feel safe in getting into a ride, you're going to use it. So we need to be at the place where we're able to communicate to the public, hey, it's safe to get into this autonomous vehicle. We have all these best practices in place that are going to protect you and ensure that you have a free or a safe ride to get into where you need to go.
This whole autonomous thing just blows me away. So where are we when it comes to autonomous vehicles?
Well, I'm so glad that you're asking that question. I think that if you would have asked me that question a couple of years ago, I would be like, yeah, we're there. But I think the truth is, like I mentioned earlier, there are several pilot programs that are going on across the country right now, and they're really refining and fine-tuning this. I think that in reality, we're still a couple of years, 2 or 3 years out from autonomous vehicles, and we can keep an eye on. I think we're launching pilot programs here as well. So I think it's a work in progress, and not as close as we think to getting it to where we want to go to be.
You know, downtown Miami, and Julio, you guys probably see these little boxes going on. Yeah, I tell you, this world is changing right before our eyes, right? Kevin, what advice would you give to someone starting their career in the technology industry?
It's a great question. My answer is going to probably be a little weird. I mean, the technology's there. There are opportunities to learn the tech, but for someone who's looking to start in technology, I think it's really largely about understanding how tech is used. Technology is used to solve a business problem, to create business value, to create better experiences for customers. So when I look at individuals starting in tech, and even myself when I was in tech in terms of delivery, it's really about building domain knowledge. It's about, so Claudia's talking about autonomous vehicles and cybersecurity. I can create a technology solution to solve that problem. So when you're talking about getting into tech, it's very important to have those soft skills, being able to identify use cases. What are the use cases that we have here that we can apply a technology solution? Communication skills where when you create an idea, a technology solution, technology, I mean, you can build applications on this now. No code, low code. I mean, when I graduated from FAMU back in 1987, I was a hardcore developer. Now, an individual who's working as a bartender can figure out technology to deliver a solution. But can you figure out that use case? Institutions to learn it, but you got to learn what about the domain knowledge, what about the business skills, what about being able to communicate and articulate your ideas, and more importantly, how do you identify that use case that's either going to create value or solve a problem? So that's what I was saying.
Wow, that was deep. The vape and how they went through that process of becoming what they became, and then basically fell apart because of basically social media and children beginning to use that. So it's solving problems is really what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Eileen, what role do you see government regulations? I asked you that, right?
That was me.
No, Okay, anyway, what role do you see government regulations playing in shaping the future of transportation? And how do you now?
Response, I have to let you know, I think that was very powerful. And I feel like I have to continue on that wave, that path, and really say thank you on that path. Really, what is the role of government in terms of regulation? I think the role of government and what you should hold us accountable for is the ultimate. What is the use? What is the use case? What is the value of what it is that we are doing that will actually result in a change in behavior? Earlier issue of autonomous vehicle, I would ask that question, what is the use case and what is the value of autonomous vehicle? Because if it continues to result in a single occupant vehicle, but for it being autonomous, then what are we really getting in terms of solving our problems? So I think the regulations and what my board is focused on in terms of a policy and funding prioritization process is that we want to maximize and expand mobility in every way possible. And we really can't say that enough. And I feel like a lot of what Kevin has said in terms of technology is a part of that solution. So regulation would include things at a very basic, merging together issues of land use and development and transportation and looking silo. So we can't solve our transportation problems in a bubble and not think about land use and not think about technology and not think about security and other things. So I think the role of regulation in government is about how do we bring things together comprehensively, holistically, with the best in the public's mobility options.
I like that. Vice Mayor, how are we doing on time?
We're doing fine.
Okay. I'll ask one more question and then we'll go in. So, Alexis, what resources or programs do you offer to support aspiring entrepreneurs and startups in the technology sector?
We offer all the things for all the people. So I say the founder who's thinking about their exit. So it's a little inverted triangle. I'd say our gateway entry point is something we do called Workflow Wednesday. I have one tonight, and Novi Tech Village tonight, if you want to come through at 6 o'clock. And then from there, we have these education boot camps, which we also host in North Miami, which are 2-day intensive boot camps, all totally free for the founder to learn about growth and scale really aggressively. I did that from a few years ago. So we do Black Tech Week and Black Tech Weekends all around the United States to support growing entrepreneurs. And then there's my bread and butter, which is the venture fund, which is designed to provide capital on average around $500,000 to $1 million per founder for growth, rocket fuel, and success. And we have some new things coming on. I'll say we're launching a media arm designed to tell positive stories of great companies and great ecosystems we're all building.
Wow. You know, I have one more question for Eileen, and I think this is important. All of these questions are great and important. Do you see a demand for jobs in the transportation industry? What skills would you recommend to someone that is interested in pursuing a career in transportation?
Yes, including education, healthcare, finance, transportation. I'm going to be a little biased just based on what I do in this industry. I am a certified professional planner. I have a master's in transportation planning, and I would say a skill set are attracted away from technology and innovation and entering and really considering a career in public service. Because I think that if you're rooted in wanting to serve your community in an operating agency from the transportation perspective, but also the planning of that infrastructure, the designing, building, constructing, operating, and maintaining. So any and all of those skill sets are critical to us, and we always love to help people orientate us to our jobs in our fields and how we can help you enter. And I would love to talk to anyone that has an interest and see how we can be a resource in the Miami-Dade TPO and helping you with that.
Oh, great. Julio.
Okay, good morning. Big fan of Freebie. If you haven't downloaded it, download it. The question, I guess, is to let the public know how businesses can take advantage by supporting you and then supporting them and then supporting the system. I think that's a lot of the folks here are not familiar.
Not just a transportation solution that gets you from point A to point B, but it's also a very powerful economic development tool. And so we offer these free advertising on our mobile platform for the local businesses, and now we have the ability to, when somebody's going to take, so think about it, you're going to go to dinner, but you're not exactly sure. So you go to the destinations section on the app, and you have different categories. You have arts and entertainment, you have dining, for instance. So you go there, restaurants and bars in North Miami. And that is all, we have a team of economic development officers that goes out into the community, door to door, to these businesses, offers them this free advertising, and even if it's a mom and pop shop, right? And we'll go ahead and set up a profile, digitize it for them, so that when you're there in that free, you're thinking, where am I gonna go eat? You look and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go here. You click there, you see a little bit, you see a nice visual, their address, their phone number, and you go there. And then come to my store and shop here, I'll give you 10% off. Or if you come to my restaurant and dine here, have lunch here, I'll give you a free, maybe a free drink with entree, or 5% off, free dessert with entree. Things like that are now going to incentivize you to leave your car at home, get in the freebie, and really connect with your community. So we are inspiring local destinations right through our app. Right? So this is the best part about it, you know, and we do that for one of two reasons. Number one, because we want to be a good partner in the community. We want to make sure that these businesses that work so hard to open the doors stay open. And a lot of times, you know, you go into these restaurants and you'll go into the town and you'll see that there's no parking, but the restaurants are not at capacity because there's limited parking availability. So freebie frees up that limited parking availability, allows these businesses to fill up every chair, every corner of their business and stay in business. And the other side of it is we know that these businesses are now going to turn around and also be good partners. They're going to turn around and tell their customers, hey, download the freebie app. We go to the business, we leave QR codes at check-in so that when they come in, they're like, hey, just download the app. They're able to do it right then and there. And the best part is that even if you travel, let's say outside of North Miami, if you're in North Miami Beach, if you are in Biscayne Park, El Portal, any city that has freebie, the app will automatically pull up whatever restaurants, whatever stores are in there, and you'll be able to use it not just in the community where you live that the service is offered, but any of the other 35 communities in the state of Florida where the service is offered. So thank you.
That is way cool. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, thank you to all the panelists. I'm Sophia Modefayu with College of Medicine with an amazing program called the Green Family Foundation Neighborhood Health. And I have to tell you, when we did a whole gathering of information about transportation, important to the underserved population. My question to you, and I love the fact that you add the advertising, one of the needs that we over and over identify and help to assist is access to food. As you can imagine, it's always there. Do you, by any chance, add to your list and offer as transportation where the food banks are?
So that's an excellent question. So let me tell you, the wonderful thing about freebie is that it's high, right? And because they have different needs, their goals are going to be different. Right. So I'll give you an example since you're mentioning food. We have a service in Florida City. Everybody familiar with Florida City, way down south? Florida City is an underserved community. You know, a big percentage, more than half of the people that live there don't have vehicles. But what's interesting about Florida City is that they're what we call an urban food desert. So you're talking about food banks, but imagine living somewhere where there are no supermarkets. Florida City is one of these cities. There's no supermarkets and people don't have cars. How do they get their basic needs of just providing food and accessibility to food? So the way that we work with Florida City is we put a geofence around Florida City. So if you live in Florida City, you can use the app. But then we go to the neighboring community of Homestead, and we throw a geofence around the Publix, another one around the train station, around the Baptist Hospital, and around Miami-Dade College. So now, folks can get to the grocery store to get their needs met. If they have a medical emergency, they're sick, they need to get to a hospital, they can get there, and they can get to the train station to go further on to their jobs, place of business. The students can get to the college. And the interesting thing is, think of it as an island. Florida City, and then, you know, Publix, the hospital, train station, college. We're not serving this area. It's just the technology, which is the cool part. The technology can now say that as long as you start or end your ride at either of these locations, it will work. So can a community say, so there's